What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the JDW Sports Talk Show, and especially Hot Take Tuesday. Episode 5 of Season 3 is officially here, and we have a very special guest today joining me. Gonna have a little bit of help today. We have a couple good hot takes, and usually it takes me quite some time to talk about this, but we'll see how good this man is and getting his words out. And he's looking to grow. He's looking to get better. So as we all are, but make sure you introduce yourself, DJ. How you doing? How's everything going? And how you feeling about the season so far?
I'm feeling amazing. I think the season has been going pretty well. Obviously, some ups and downs, but for those of you who don't know me, my full name is Abdul Ramirez, also known as DJ Abcool. You can follow me, DJ Abcool, on Instagram or DJ Abcool22 on Twitter. But I'm always around. I'm a sports communication major currently in college, but I'm studying sports and always want to get to know what's around, especially in the NFL, the National Football League. But I'm interested to see these hot takes.
Good to hear. I'm excited, man. I'm excited for you. You got a lot ahead of us. There's a lot to do. So, first hot takes from Bafoon. He says the Falcons are NFC contenders. You look at the NFC, it's packed. There are so many teams right at the top there. You got the Vikings. Is Sam Darnold really real? Will that continue to go that way? You got the Packers. Of course, the Packers are very good. Jordan Love. They always find a new quarterback. Whatever. Must be nice. Too bad we couldn't find our third in a row in the Colts, but Jordan Love looking great. Really, just a dominant football team. You have the Niners. I mean, they're Niners. They're not looking like Niners-esque right now, but as the season goes on, I'm sure they're going to come into form. As a lot of the better teams typically do come into form mid-season, the late season. You have the Lions. I mean, we just saw what they did to the Cowboys. Lions just smoked the Cowboys, ran all over them. They basically did whatever they want against the Cowboys. And then Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield. I mean, how about some of the quarterbacks that have been showing out lately? It's awesome to see, but it also makes it feels a little bit different. And then last but not least, this is the team I have the most questions about, the Commanders. Jaden Daniels. How about the
Yeah.
Commanders down there in the NFC North, or no, the NFC East showing out, leading the division? Who would have thought?
Yeah.
So really, I'm gonna go cool because I think
Mm.
they're contenders. I think it's pretty well known they're contenders, and I think most people will agree with that. Kirk Cousins, awesome, great weapons, run the ball really well, and their defense compared to last year, this defense is just in a whole new stratosphere. Their defense was like one of the worst last year. It was sucked. This year, it's great.
Yeah.
Additions of Matthew Judon, Jesse Bates. I mean, Falcons are looking pretty good. I think that's a fair take. What do you think?
Yeah, that is a fair take. I mean, I could agree with you on that. I think it is a little cool. Just because, the Falcons, they're right now they're 4-2 record, right? And as the record indicates, they have been amazing on offense. Kirk Cousins has been able to improve it. A good pickup in free agency, right? And their run game has been spectacular. I mean, 4.7 yards per carry with Bijan and Tyler Algier. I mean, that is just amazing for them to be able to get the offense going. 1,500 passing yards. You have Drake London down there. So I think they're an amazing team. Their turnover ratio, they're in the middle of the pack, +0. Somewhere where you kind of want to be rather than negative. You don't really want to be in that area. It's kind of scary there. But a main takeaway that I say that is very negative for the Falcons is their bottom 5 in third down conversion rate, 3.7 per game. So that is a little concerning for the Falcons on offense. But Kirk Cousins, I like what they've been able to do so far in the running game as well as the passing game. And I think with Raheem Morris as the head coach, with their upcoming schedule, JDW, I mean, so far, their hardest opponents coming up, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? They're traveling to Tampa Bay. That should be an interesting one, considering they went to OT the first matchup. And
Yeah,
then the second hardest, I think, great game, by the way. And the real test is the Minnesota Vikings Monday Night Football. I feel like that's going to determine a lot as well.
big time, big time, big time. Are the Vikings going to continue? Is Sam Darnold and the Vikings going to continue look the way they have? Sam Darnold, the way he has played is. Who would have thought in 2024 Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and Jaden Daniels would be atop the MVP conversation, atop the best quarterbacks in the NFL? Wacky. So is that all you got for that hot take? Ready to move on?
Yeah, I think I'm ready to move on here. And as our next hot take is, it's going to be the Colts being 8-9. A really interesting hot take here. Now the Colts are 3-3 currently, and they just came off a tight Titans win at Nashville, which was 20-17. That win was, they didn't have Jonathan Taylor. And I think that's been, the major concern here is that without Jonathan Taylor, they've struggled to get a run game going, right? Trey Sermon, 1.6 yards per carry in that Nashville game. Tyler Goodson did have that 33-yard run, but outside of that, didn't find a lot of room to run, right? And I think the offensive line is amazing for the Indianapolis Colts, but when it really comes down to it, without Jonathan Taylor, there are concerns there. But when he's back in that backfield, they have an amazing running game. We saw that against Pittsburgh, right? Jonathan Taylor has proven he could run the barrel against some really rough run defenses. And I mean, I want to get your opinions on that. With the quarterback controversy takes that have been happening, I mean, I believe that Anthony Richardson is the franchise quarterback for the Colts. Even though he's developing, right, he is struggling in some games. I mean, what are your thoughts on that when it comes to Joe Flacco versus Anthony Richardson?
So Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson provide complete opposite ways how this offense plays. I mean, when Joe Flacco's in
Exactly.
there, he's got the experience. He's seen it all. There's nothing he hasn't seen. And with the weapons that the Colts have, and the offensive line plan at the level it is, it's very easy for a quarterback like Joe Flacco just to, drop back, easier said than done, but he just drops back there. He knows what he's looking at, get out to receiver, get out to downs, the Downs little signature out route and the spin to get the first down. Love that signature move by Downs. Always does it every single game. But back to that, I mean, then with Anthony Richardson, it's more like, it's kind of the opposite. Anthony Richardson could run. Joe Flacco's like bricks for feet. Anthony Richardson could run. But Anthony Richardson doesn't know what he's looking at half the time. He doesn't, he can't get it to these guys in, a good spot. A lot of times, even when a receiver is open, you see AR just throwing a little too high. Receivers have to make a circus catch, and instead of just catching the ball and being able to run, get those extra 2-3 yards, maybe even break one free for a touchdown, receivers got to stop. They got to come back, or it's just completely overthrown by 10, 15 yards, and it's not even close. So I think Anthony Richardson, he's got a long way to go. I'm trying to keep as open as a mind as possible because I love the Colts, my football team. It's number 4 overall pick. It's a lot to spend on a guy, on anyone. So
Yeah.
I really hope that he is the answer. But in the back of my head, I'm just trying to look at the quarterbacks that came out just like him. I don't like to to compare, to say that it's going to be like that. But we're counting on Anthony Richardson to be the exception. Look at a guy like Trey Lance, very similar coming out of North Dakota State University. I mean, very athletic, had the arm. He wowed everyone. Look at
Yeah.
Zach Wilson. Look at those guys. They have the arm. They have these big wow factors to them. But what you want from your quarterback is you want consistency, and you want him to be able to drop back there and give you, 28 out of 38 passes, in a big game. You want him to give you one of those big time passing games. And, Anthony Richardson could stretch the field, run the football too. Big plays, passing, deep down the field, running. But the thing is, if you want him, if you need to complete a simple 3rd and 5, 4th and 5, and Anthony Richardson just needs to throw a simple out route or a simple hitch, can he do it in a big time moment? Say it's a game time, it's a game deciding 4th and 5. Do you trust Anthony Richardson to throw that little hitch route, to a wide open receiver, even if the receiver is wide open?
Exactly.
Will he hit him? You don't know. And that's scary. And I actually think that Shane Steichen, a lot of people kind of complain the way Shane Steichen has called the games with Anthony Richardson. It feels like has offense really watered down and it's not really too much complexity to it. But could he really throw complexity in there if Anthony Richardson doesn't know what he's looking at when it's simple? You know what I mean? So I think at this point, Anthony Richardson, a quarterback in the NFL should have his mechanics down so he can focus on, studying the game and, studying the defenses and seeing what the defense is doing. But no, Anthony Richardson has focused on
Yeah.
mechanics, on not just studying the defense or watching the defense, reading the defense. That's as difficult as it is. On top of that, he's got to worry about his mechanics, and and then you got to worry about injuries and just go down, man. You don't need. We know you could run people over. You're 6'5", 6'6", you're 250 pounds. We know you could run people over, but goodness gracious, we want you to be healthy. But I know I really went on a rant there. But Anthony Richardson, he also provides a factor in the run game, right? When the opposing defensive line is
Yeah.
playing a guy like Anthony Richardson, you can't just rush those lanes. You got to stay disciplined, and you kind of got to wait for Anthony Richardson to see which way he's going to go. Because if they just rush those lanes, I mean, Anthony Richardson could just take off through a hole that they leave, or they come too far out down the field and rushing. Anthony Richardson is just gonna have too much room to run up front, or he's gonna find a way out. He's fast, but I think Anthony Richardson. This is my take on Anthony Richardson. Final thing about Anthony Richardson: he's an
Yeah.
elite athlete trying to play quarterback. He provides
Mhm.
all those wow factors. Big arm, can run, but when you need him to drop back and make those very crucial fourth down throws, third down throws, could he do it? I don't know. But back to the take. Colts going 8-9. The remaining strength of schedule is tough. Did you see the remaining strength of schedule?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the remaining of the schedule, you have, okay, the next two games could be decidable, right? Week 7, you're hosting the Miami Dolphins, a team that decidedly, right, if Skylar Thompson's playing, it could be an easy game for the Indianapolis Colts. Week 8 at Houston Texans, a huge division opponent that, frankly, the Colts need to win if they even want to have a chance at the division title. So I think that's a very important game, but it's a rough stretch from Week 8 through 13. I mean, you have the Texans, then traveling to Minnesota to play the Vikings with Sam Darnold, hosting the Buffalo Bills, and then you're traveling to New York Sunday Night Football to face the Jets. Now, frankly, Robert Saleh isn't there, but they just traded for Devontae Adams. So, I mean, who knows what the New York Jets can be right now. And then Week 12, hosting the Detroit Lions. Week 13, going to travel to New England. And then finally, you're having the bye week. So it's going to be a rough stretch of games there for Shane Steichen and the Colts. But is there any way, they can get that done and being able to come away with at least 2 to 3 wins here? That's the true question and true concerns that I would have for the Indianapolis Colts here.
Exactly. And you want to know one thing in common with all of those, really talented teams we're playing? They're not only really talented, but look at their running back situation. Look at their running games. And look at our running defense. You have Minnesota, Aaron Jones, great offensive line. Aaron Jones is awesome.
Yeah.
Houston, their offensive line isn't as good, but Joe Mixon, he's awesome. Then you also have to worry about the passing game, so that spreads out the defense a little bit. The Lions, we just saw what they did the Cowboys. I could wait to watch that game. The Lions could have the ball for 40 minutes in that game. Wouldn't be shocked. I mean, and then taking the opportunities away from AR. And that's another thing with Anthony Richardson. When you're playing those games where you have limited possessions, you can't afford those turnovers. You can't afford those silly mistakes because those possessions are important. Every single possession, especially in the
Yeah.
playoffs, every single possession is magnified like 100 times. But then you have Buffalo, Josh Allen, James Cook, another tough run game. Denver, Javonte Williams, decent offensive line. The Broncos can run the football, and Bo Nix, we'll see. We'll see where Bo Nix is at when we play them. The Jets, Brees
Yeah.
Hall, and then, of course, as you mentioned, they just traded for Devontae Adams. I mean, our passing defense, our defense in general really scares us. And considering we
Yeah.
have this difficult of a schedule going down the stretch, I don't know if we go 8-9. We would have to win. We would have to beat one of these tough teams, and then at the very least, probably split with some of those bad teams that we're playing. And at that, those bad teams, I don't think we're great either. Honestly, I hate to be a Debbie Downer, I do, but I genuinely don't think we're destined to go to the playoffs or have a strong season. I think 8-9 is even going to say a little bit out of reach for the Colts. Do you think so?
I mean, it definitely could be, right? And I think that's the reality that Colts fans and even the fan base doesn't want to face right now is that could be the reality for the Indianapolis Colts is that 8-9 is reachable, and I think it could be. But at the same time, when you look at this tough stretch, how do they come out of this tough stretch? Considering Anthony Richardson, right? We talk about potential of Anthony Richardson. He's such an amazing athlete, an amazing draft prospect, really, when he came out of the draft. But we have yet to see that potential draw itself onto the field. There's a quote that I like from Remember the Titans, and it's like, you can throw it a mile, but you can't pitch it 3 yards, right? It's like, you have all the talent in the world, but you got to know how to do the basics right. And I think until Anthony Richardson could really prove that, we have yet to see if this Colts team can truly reach the playoffs or even an 8-9 record. So I think with this take, I mean, how are you feeling? What do you think it could be right now when it comes to the
I'm
levels?
going hot. I'm not gonna go piping hot because we do play some teams that are on our ask or we could beat, but I'm going hot because it is not an easy schedule. and they are not good matchup for the Colts. I'm a big matchup guy. When I'm looking at games and I'm looking at who I think is going to win this game and that game, I'm a big matchup guy. Colts don't have a good run defense, and they're playing a heck of a lot of talent, really talented running backs on the stretch here. And I'm going hot. I'm saying it's a bit unlikely. So, anything else you want to wrap that up with, or that's really it for that take?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go warm here. I think I'll just go one level below, just because I think they could reach that 8-9 record possibly if they can get it together. Especially, I trust Shane Steichen as a coach to be able to really get this team to that 8-9 record. I think just out of reach of the playoffs. But really, this year is just a developmental year for Anthony Richardson, and I'm excited to see what the Colts can do this year. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go warm here.
Okay. All right. So, next hot take is a bit similar from LCCJS27. He says the Cowboys finish 8-9. So, how the Cowboys look this year? They've looked on and off, very inconsistent. They have their good games, they have their bad games, but very similar to what we just talked about the Colts. That run defense, it's bad. It is bad. And they still gotta go through a lot. The Eagles twice, the Commanders twice. They have the ninth hardest strength of schedule at the end of the year. And looking at the Cowboys, you can't stop the run. You're not that great against the pass. You're not as good as you were last year. You just simply weren't. Last year was the Cowboys' chance. All the Cowboys fans say every single year, this is our year. Last year was really your chance. This year, I don't think so. I don't think they have it. And then you look at offensively, Dak Prescott is not really there. He hasn't looked good. He's been all right. I'm not going to say he's horrible. He's been okay. But, there's no run game. Can't get a run game going. The Dallas offense line isn't as good as it usually is. And then really, it doesn't help when you can't run the football and your only weapon that's really stepping up for you is CeeDee Lamb. It's kind of like a Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb show over there. Zeke had a really nice, return to home the week one. Other than that, Zeke has been non-existent. Other than CeeDee Lamb, Dak doesn't really have anyone else to throw through. No, he has good tight ends, nice tight ends, but the Cowboys finishing 8-9. Ninth hardest strength of schedule. Really limited on offense. Can't stop the run. Stopping the run is one of the things that you have to get down before anything else. If you can't stop the run, it destroys the rest of your game plan. Because you could get passed on easier. It opens up the passing game. You got to load the box, and it's just not a recipe for success in the NFL. So I'm gonna go. The Cowboys finishing 8-9. I'm gonna go hot once again. I just don't think they have it in them.
Yeah, and just with the Dallas Cowboys itself, their defense, right? Giving up 28 points per game, 30th in the league. It's really poor, but reasons for that being is that they don't have Deron Bland, who is one of their top corners. He's been on IR. Eric Kendricks and Micah Parsons, both impactful players when it comes to the pass rush and the run defense. And then DeMarcus Lawrence, their top edge rusher, has been injured for a while. So again, when you have those key players out, it does matter. And I know that people say you can try to get through it, but when you don't have a lot of depth on that defense, it shows. And the Detroit Lions, clearly this previous week, exploited it, right? It was just a lot of, right, you don't have those key guys in key positions to help you win football games. So when you can't stop the run game, that just makes it harder to win a football game. And you got to feel for a quarterback in Dak Prescott. Their offensive yards, when it comes to their passing yards, number 3 in the league, 259.3. But when it comes to the rushing yards, only 3.5 yards per rush. So it is really poor when it comes to their running game. And that's just been forcing them to have to pass all the time. And when you put Dak in those situations, turnovers are going to happen eventually, right? So it's just really sucks for someone like Dak Prescott, who's really putting his heart into the game. But really right now with the Cowboys, 8-9 record, I could definitely see it, or even a little less. But I'm going to probably have to go with warm here. I think I'll go the same as the Colts. I think possibly you could see an 8-9 record, but at the same time, you also could see a lower record based on what you said, right? 9th straight hardest strength of schedule. Definitely could see it.
Right. All right, we're ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
All right.
And I think the next one is going to be the NFC North makes it to the playoffs. The whole division, and that is going to be the Minnesota Vikings, Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, and Chicago Bears. And I mean, we were just talking about how tough the NFC looks. And going into this year, I mean, JDW, am I wrong by saying this? But we did not expect the NFC to be this good, right? We thought the
Yeah.
AFC was going to be better, but the NFC has made some surprises so far.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. The you just look at the NFC, it's loaded. You look at the NFC North, it's loaded. And saying all 4 teams are going to make the playoffs though, that's a difficult feat to accomplish there. I mean, you look at the other teams you have in the NFC, not just, you of course you're going to have the division winner. Okay, that's one. And then you got 3 other wild card spots, Lions and the Packers, they're probably going to make it. The Vikings, they keep playing the way they are probably going to make it. But the Bears, they have the hardest strength of schedule the remaining of the season. They don't forget, they still have to play the Lions twice. I don't think they played the Lions or the Packers yet. So they have to play the Lions and the Packers twice. 2 very good football teams. They got to play the Niners. I know they play the Seahawks in there. They play some really tough football teams in there. And Caleb Williams has looked awesome. Don't get me wrong. I've been very wrong so far about Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, first couple weeks looked bad. That's fair. The first couple weeks, rookie quarterback usually always struggles. You have that adjustment period. But Shane Waldron, Caleb Williams, everyone just feels like they're clicking. They're on the same page. Will it last? I don't know. We're really going to find out versus some of the teams they played on the stretch. They played some really juggernaut teams and multiple times, not just once. They play some of them multiple times. So Bears have a tough remaining schedule. I don't think the Bears will make it, considering the very difficult schedule. And then, do you really think that the Bucs or the Falcons are going to miss at this point? Do you think the Bears will make it over one of those 2 teams? I don't think so, honestly. So,
yeah, I mean, I could agree with that, and I just think that the NFC South, when you look at it, right, 2 teams from that NFC South division have to make it. I think the Falcons and the Bucks are both looking like excellent teams right now, so I don't see, one of those 2 teams just not making it. I think the Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Buccaneers have both looked good. We haven't even gone into the NFC West, where the San Francisco 49ers have looked amazing. The Arizona Cardinals, their first 6 games have been incredibly tough. I'm truly thinking that the Cardinals are one of those teams where the record is not indicative of how good of a team they are. And I think once they get into that easier stretch of their schedule, maybe we'll see them start to spark up, start to find a better record near that end of the season. But until that is proven, I think, like you said, the NFC South has good reasons for optimism. And just to say the whole division of the NFC North is going to make it, I think since there's been 7 seeds, we have not seen a whole division make it thus far. So, I mean, I think this is a cool take, actually. I think I could see it happening just based off how Caleb Williams has been looking. So, whoever put in this take, I think I could agree with you, is that the Chicago Bears, they're starting to find a rhythm. Caleb Williams is starting to get it together with that offense, get better connection with his weapons. And I just think if they can find a way, their defense is already amazing. I mean, just stud, right? They're already really good at stopping the run. They did a really good job against Trevor Lawrence, despite Trevor Lawrence already looking bad in previous games. But yeah, the Chicago Bears, they've done a great job. I can't wait to see what they do throughout the season, but they do have a pretty hard schedule, so that's why I'm not going freezing cold, but I'm just going to go cool for this one. And what level do you have for this one?
I'm going hot. Because, 4 teams making it, that's tough. And there are just so many good teams in the NFC. And there only 4 teams could be a division winner. So that's 4 teams that are guaranteed in. And then, you got to fight for those wild card spots. The division winners take up the top 4 spots. It doesn't matter, what the rest of the records are. You could have the Packers go 14 or, have 14, 15 wins, and then the Lions have 13 wins, and the Packers win the division, and the Lions will still be the 5th seed, because that's just how the NFL playoff bracket goes. But I just don't think that the Bears could, have that strong of a stretch versus the schedule that they have. I don't think that they make it over the Bucs or Falcons. Like you said, the Cardinals are sneaky. If they can find some consistency, the Cardinals can be a very sneaky football team, maybe sneak into the playoffs and play spoiler for a team or 2. I mean, we just saw it. They just upset the Niners. They're beaten, and they kept it close with the Bills. They almost beat the Bills in week 1. So, but then, you're getting smoked by the Packers. You're very inconsistent. Very inconsistent. inconsistent. So the Cardinals could find some consistency. The Cardinals can, we'll see what they got, and we'll see what Geno Smith and the Seahawks got. I mean, but for the NFC East, I don't know if more than one team comes out of the NFC East though. Because you have the Washington Commanders, they're looking great. Jane Daniels, they're looking great. Run game's looking good. Struggle versus the Ravens, fine. That was a real first test, but they held their own. Even though they lost, they held their own. Do you think that there's a second team that makes it in from the NFC East? Do you think the Eagles sneak in there? Do you think, any other team sneaks
Yeah.
in there from the NFC East?
I mean, when it comes to the NFC East, you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, right? They're one of those teams that they just came off an ugly loss versus the Browns at home. They've been very inconsistent. I don't know exactly what I'm going to get from them each time. And everybody, right, the media specifically, has been really pinpointing on Nick Sirianni as a head coach. But I just look at it this way. I think their offense has been better than last year. I think that it has much better play calling. When it comes to their defense, I think their defense is also pretty good, kind of suffering in some parts, not the same as it was obviously 2 years back, but I think that the Eagles in itself right now, it's just really hard for me to say if they will make it, but I think they definitely can. And same thing with the Dallas Cowboys that we just talked about them, right? Dallas Cowboys, the New York Giants, still iffy, right? But I mean, when it comes to NFC East, I could definitely see the Commanders and the Eagles making it when it comes to the playoffs.
All right. So yeah, that's even more competition. It's gonna be tough for that entire division to make the playoffs. It really is. All right. Did I start with the last hot take or did you? I don't remember now.
Oh, you could introduce the last one I think we have here.
Okay. All right. Head of table 23. He says that the Chiefs aren't as good as their record shows. So a couple things I want to say here is they have Mahomes. You have Mahomes, you're automatically going to be atop the NFL. You have a quarterback like him. Is it safe to say that he is? Well, it is safe to say he's one of the best of all time already. In what he hasn't even played 10 seasons in the NFL. It just goes to show how talented he is, and he's played on some tough teams too, where he hasn't had the great weapons and the fourth quarter Super Bowl comebacks. I mean, it's no fluke.
Exactly.
Mahomes is he's going to keep the Chiefs atop the NFL as long as he plays. But not being as good as the record shows, I mean, the Chiefs are only a couple plays away, like a handful of plays away from having 3 losses. The first couple weeks, some people blame the refs and this and that, but whatever. I don't like to put too much emphasis on the refs. Sometimes there are times where the refs really do just screw up a game. Really do. Saints Rams, there you go. The conference championship. That one right there. That's a good example.
Yeah.
But generally, there are a lot of other missed opportunities in the game, other things that you could have done better. So I don't like to blame the refs. But they could be bad. We all know. But as long as Mahomes is on the Chiefs, man, I just think the Chiefs
Yeah.
the Chiefs remain on top, and their defense is still so good too. Their defense is really strong, even with the injuries. Speaking of injuries, the offensive injuries are wild too. They're out Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, 2 of their top guys, two of their top receivers, and 2 of their top running backs are out. Kareem Hunt, he's back there. He looked pretty good versus the Saints, and Kareem Hunt has been looking pretty good with them again. But Chiefs aren't as good as the record shows. I mean, the record is a record. I don't think you can take that away from them, but the fact that they are a couple plays away from having 3 losses, it's something to consider. And, they played good teams too.
Yeah.
It's not like they were bad teams that was close against. They barely got away with the Falcons. They barely beat the Falcons. They barely beat the Bengals, and they barely beat the Ravens. Bengals, you can say what you want to say about the Bengals. Joe Burrow is kind of the main guy. Joe Burrow has to play perfect for the Bengals to have a chance to beat good teams. And the Ravens, the Ravens are the Ravens, one of the top teams, very good team. And the Falcons, we're talking about the Falcons today. They're looking awesome. So those are three games that are really close. The Chiefs just happen to come out on top. And, they did go against the Chargers. The Chargers have been sneaky good. So the Chiefs, not being good as the record shows, man, I mean, they're fine. They're fine for me. I mean, they're 9th in yards allowed per game on defense. They're 6th in points allowed. Now, their offense, on paper statistically isn't what it usually is, 5th in points scored or 15th in points scored and 11th in yards per game. I mean, yeah, it's definitely not the Chiefs offense we're used to, but don't forget all the injuries that Mahomes has. He still has a great offensive line, but if you have no one that can catch the football, what are we going to do? But look what the Chiefs did last year in the Super Bowl. Remember for almost the whole year, we're questioning the Chiefs receivers. We're questioning, the Chiefs offense. When it mattered most, the Chiefs did it.
Yeah, the Chiefs were able to do it. And, right now, it's just when it comes to their run game, 3.9 yards per carry. I mean, number 27th in the league. And reasons for that is because of Isaiah Pacheco, right? Just that horrific injury that happened to him. I mean, hopefully he can recover, right? But it's just so devastating what happened to that poor kid. And now 3.9 yards per carry. They haven't done too good at running the football. But as long as you have Mahomes, like you said, I mean, they're number ninth in the league, 7.7 yards per pass. Patrick Mahomes has been making it happen every single game. But one thing I want to pinpoint on is when it comes to their defense, right? Their defense, coached by Steve Spagnuolo, I believe. Yeah, their defense only has 9 sacks in the year, right? They're bottom 10 in the league in sacks, and that is something that you don't normally see from the Chiefs defense, right? They normally get a lot of pressure on opposing quarterbacks, and specifically Charles Omenihu, who has 7 of their 9 sacks this year, and he has been hurt. So when you have a key pass rusher like Charles Omenihu not there, that is clearly going to affect your pass rush, and it clearly shows that they have not been able to generate a fast enough pass rush on opposing quarterbacks. Now, of course, their secondary and how good it is does make up for it, and their run defense, of course, it does. They're number 4th in the league in run defense, only allowing around 3.7 yards per run. So that is amazing for them. But when you really look at it, I mean, the Chiefs just really struggle to get a pass rush going against opposing quarterbacks, and that can really hurt them in the long run.
For sure, for sure. So I'm gonna go hot with this one. Go hot. I
Yeah,
think I think they're right there. It was close game. Those 3 games I could have went 0-3. And won. A
exactly.
handful of plays to start 0-3. They were good football teams. Those games are gonna be close, especially when you have all those injuries. And like you're saying, you have all those injuries. The pass rush isn't really there. I'm going hot. I'm going hot. I think that the Chiefs are fine. I think they're just about as
Yeah,
good
I
as I
think
can
I'm
show.
gonna
They're good
go.
teams.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say the same with you. I think hot. I just think that the Chiefs right now, they've proven that they can win football games, right? It doesn't matter how you win as long as you win. Now, of course, there is an extent to that, right? We've seen the Bengals and the Falcons game specifically. Those are the 2 games where I feel like the Kansas City Chiefs realistically could be 3-2. Not 2-3 because the Baltimore Ravens, like, you know, I mean, he was Isaiah likely was a couple inches from getting that touchdown. So that's still astonishing to me how that happened. But in particular, when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, I think that 5-0 pretty realistic for them, right? There are reasons to say that they should be 3-2, right? But I think that going forward, I think they might struggle a little more considering how their defense is. But I'm going to stick with you and say hot.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. I think that's all we got for this Hot Take Tuesday. So I appreciate you guys for stopping by. It was a good time. And we had a good time talking football. Special guest, he was awesome. DJ, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you coming on, talking some football with me, man. Um, I guess you'll be on more for Hot Take Tuesday then. Maybe we can make this a regular thing. Completely up to you. But yeah, I thank you for coming on. Any last words you want to say?
No last words for me. I mean, you guys can find me on my socials. They should be posted below in the bio, but it's gonna be DJ Be Cool for Instagram. You go to always check me out. I do commentating for esports, and I will be doing more podcasts, Hot Take Tuesday with my boy JDW. So thank you guys for joining and tuning in.
They're awesome. Thank you guys. If you guys enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, put the post notification bell on. All this stuff will be in the description below. So go follow him on his Insta, all the socials. So I appreciate you guys. JW Sports Talk Show signing off. Go Colts.